So, well, obviously it's Q&A, so I'll throw it out to you guys. If there's areas that you need help with, if there's something that you want some guidance on or structure. So obviously it's a Q&A about your development. Is there particular areas where there's a concern or you want some help, you've had a problem with, or you would like some more maybe alternative or beneficial ways of doing things or understanding in a broad spectrum? So anybody have anything they'd like to ask before when we start it off or kick it off?
Well, I have a question. I'm not sure if it relates to this, but some people say it is. I have developed this ringing in my left ear the past year. Doctor says it's stress. My medium friend says it's the vibration from spirit. So I don't know. It's very distracting when I'm trying to sit in the power or meditate because it's just constant. But I have noticed when I make some connections for a reading, it gets louder. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, definitely. It is definitely physical. It's nothing to do with the spirit world. Okay. People say they hear a vibration. You can clairaudiently with your psychic hearing hear a vibration and a rhythm of the power sometimes, but it's not consistent. It's more spontaneous. And it sounds to me that when it's getting louder, when you're going into the power or endeavoring to do a reading, what's taking place is actually your sensitivity and your inner awareness is becoming more acute in those moments as you blend with the power. So as your perception and your sensitivity becomes more acute in those transitional moments of moving into the power, what takes place is actually you become more aware of any pain, any sound, anything within you and immediately around you. So the fact it's getting louder, that makes sense, Philip, but it definitely feels to me it's more of a physical nature. When you actually hear the vibration or what we call the hum, the rhythm of the spirit, it's very spontaneous. It is not consistent. So for people who say, I always hear that vibration, they may have had the experience of hearing a vibration at some time, but then the mind or the brain may actually replay that to them as they automatically move into that next reading or sitting with the power, but it's not actuality.
Okay. I thought it was physical, but
it's definitely physical, my darling, definitely.
Getting different stories and I'm like, okay, I need clarification on this, and so thank you.
I can also see by looking at you, it's connected to your neck. So I will say to you that you've either had a neck issue or there is something around your neck where you've had a neck issue, a neck problem, and there would be something of your neck area which will affect your jaw and your ears, if I'm correct. Would you understand that?
Absolutely, yes.
There you go, darling. Yeah, it's definitely physical, darling, definitely. Okay, right, there we go. Hello to those of the people just joining us. So next question, please. Got anything to ask or share or want advice on, or perhaps just want to reference something we can discuss? Yes, Jennifer.
I haven't been practicing mediumship lately with all the COVID stuff, but do you have any tips or advice in getting out of my own way? Because I find when I do have connections with a specific person who's crossed, the best connections are the spontaneous ones where I'm not even trying, I'm just doing something like walking my dog, and all of a sudden it's like I taste raspberry jam, and then it's the spirit connecting, and it's and there's always like a story to follow it. But when I'm consciously trying to connect for somebody, I'm always in the doubt and the fear that I won't. And I know that's me getting in my own way. So do you have any advice?
Well, if I could develop a pill for being able to connect to the spirit world and get ourselves out of the way, I'd be richer than a Kardashian. Let me tell you, in mediumship, it's one of the most confusing and frustrating aspects of the development. But unfortunately, the only key to it is discipline. The only key to get out of the way is disciplining the mind in the practice. What I would suggest for you is that don't try too hard. Obviously, when you're going for walks and the mind's lucid and it's relaxed and it's quiet, you can become aware of the other world very easily, very gently. We just forget to listen sometimes. But I would say to you, when you're endeavoring to do a reading or practice, perhaps in a group or a class, you're obviously over trying. And in the trying, it then tightens up the mind. So it then distorts the sense of perception that we have around ourselves, where we may receive information on many different levels. So the biggest thing I would say to you is practice the discipline of relaxation when you go and do a reading or when you're doing things. And mediumship responds to the positive application of mind. So the more your mental application of mind is positive, you will have a stronger response. If we constantly go around, oh, I can't get a link, I can't get information, I have to do a demonstration, I need to do a private reading, etc., etc., we then create a fractious energy around us. Whereas if we come to that place of knowing that we can always work for the spirit world, always, we come to a level of peace within our own development that we can always blend with the power, because you are the power. You are of the power. We talk about moving into the power, developing the power, but the truth of it is you are the power in action. So it's just activating that within yourself and knowing that world's always there. And there's a sense of peace and calmness that comes with that. So it's just about practicing the disciplines and not over trying, Jennifer.
Okay. Thank you.
So, just find something that works for you. Do something that makes you relax. Quietness. And once you get into that rhythm of just knowing that you're going to work, it's like a switch goes in the other side of your mind and your perception gets activated.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, don't over try. In the over trying, we create. As we over try, the conscious brain creates logical and analytical aspects. So, for example, if we try to get a name, or we try to feel how someone's passed, or we try to feel who's there, the brain automatically will swing things up for you, right? Because it's used to producing things to keep you going. So in your trying, you then create a mental production of brain activity. And 9 times out of 10, they're wrong. They're nothing to do with the spirit world. It's the brain in the activation, the same as the noise in the ears. If people think they're going to hear a rhythm, they might hear a rhythm and then their brain will want to hear it all the time, every time they go to link. We create patterns. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Next question. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to ask, please? Share or inspire anything, any experiences?
I can share.
Yeah,
I'm
share.
part of a Facebook group, one-on-one evidential mediumship circle. And since I've been doing this very long, I've been trying to understand, and you've said some things this evening, to be sure that these aren't my thoughts as opposed to the connection with spirit. I was with a sitter and there was internet and problems, and she got disconnected. So then I got pushed back into the main room with the moderator, who's, I guess, medium, the one who runs it. And so what he usually does is, if that happens, he works with the person who doesn't have a sitter any longer. So he worked with me, and he really pushed it. And so through that experience, what his family member was helping me. I saw some jewelry, and I was asking about jewelry. And well, he said, well, what is it? What is the jewelry? I said, well, it's a watch or a bracelet. He said, well, which one is it? And he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And so I went with it. Normally when someone pushes you, I guess the thing is you want to run out and go hide under a rock. But what was interesting about it is that the spirit helped me. So what shape is the watch? What color is the watch? He's asking me. And the woman was showing me, and she was actually, I was actually seeing things, and then I would say it, and then it was correct. So I learned in that experience what it feels like have link up with the spirit and have not my thoughts, but it was really her. Another thing that happened was a piece of evidence. She was showing her hands to me, and her hands had H spots, and I got the distinct feeling. I was kind of looking through her eyes, and she didn't like those, and so that's what I said, that this woman had H spots, and she didn't like them. And then he said yes, that he went later on in the feedback. He said that was correct, and there was something else that she showed me about lace-up shoes, and that was correct. So it had a certain characteristic about it, and I've been trying to understand that for several weeks now, what that meant, and I had a glimpse of it. But that was a very short, our time was short before everybody came back into the room. How do you keep the link? How do you keep it going? So to keep open, because it is draining, and especially I feel like from somebody new, how do you keep it going? Because maybe it was, I don't think it was 10 minutes, maybe 8 minutes this was occurring. So how do you read for 45 minutes and keep it going?
Okay, well, first of all, you can't read for 45 minutes of the spirit world.
Okay.
Most readings that go for longer than that are normally mixed up with psychic as well. Okay, so yes, we demonstrate. When we demonstrate for 2.5 hours. If I'm doing a group reading, I can work for 2 hours straight, but it will be different links. You can do a reading for 45 minutes, but especially when your experience is growing and building, it will be peppered with psychic information. So you very rarely would hold a contact for 45 minutes. Very, very, very rare. I would find that. Maybe a very, very experienced medium. And that would be after we've been working for a long, long time. So at the moment, we teach people to do 7 to 10 minute contacts, which is the correct amount of time, especially if you're doing a public forum. So I would say to you, that will only come with experience, Sherry. That will only come with the development of you understanding the power, the connection with the spirit world, and practice and development. Experience is your best teacher. Right? So, and sometimes some contacts in the spirit world can be over in 5 minutes. They're not all big and drawn out. Sometimes they are short, succinct, straight to the point, and we move on to the next contact. The thing is, there's no time in the spirit world, right? Okay. It's we who create the time around it. But to create that length of time, to become more proficient in being able to give longer contacts, then you would definitely need to just practice, work with your group, work with your mediumship to be able to build that up a little bit more.
Thank you.
It's just time. But to be able to get what you did in that short time that you did it is actually okay. And having a tutor who's helping you and guiding you, he'd be helping you. The spirit world will be pulling from his power as well and his spirit family. So that's good.
Okay, very good.
But be patient. The thing is with mediumship, everybody thinks they're going to get it in the first couple of years. You don't. You often get a lot of experiences and have contact with the spirit world in the first couple of years, but the understanding of the craft takes years to unfold correctly.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a lifelong journey. It's not just getting a spirit contact and bringing evidence. True mediumship is a journey. Just enjoy it and go with it and celebrate what you got right. And just know in your heart that you can do that, that you've had that interaction with the spirit world, and use that as a building platform. And the next time you get a bit low or a bit upset with yourself or lose your confidence that you're not doing it or it's not long enough, take your mind back to the feeling of emotion, of joy and celebration that brought you that you got that right. And let the power of that joy that you got something right be the springboard when you're feeling low.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you.
Good, good. Okay, next, please. Kylie,
Hello.
hello. Hi, Kylie.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I had a private sitting with a lady of the public, and it was one of my first. So not a practicing medium, not a professional sitter, so to speak. Now, this lady's father passed 3 weeks ago, so of course it was very new and raw. And she and I just found it difficult in that she took every piece. She's an overthinker. Everything that I gave her went up for massive amounts of deliberation. Lots of holding on to my energy, holding on to the arm, looking away, disengaging in her own thoughts. How can I stop that? Because there's only so many times you can say, I'm okay with a no. And it just kept happening. Do you have any suggestions as to how to stop that?
Unfortunately, it's part of the public arena, and particularly when people are in grief, because they're wanting, one of the things is what we recognize is when we're working with grief is that people want to hear what they want to hear. In fact, when they go to a medium for anything or an intuitive psychic, they want what they want regardless. And it doesn't matter what we say, they will always take their perception of their understanding of our words. So in that situation, when you explain at the beginning, you could say it's not a complete science. And I certainly feel that I want to say this to you. You may not understand it, but could you just record my words or write my words down so you can go away and think about that, as I just need to move on with the reading. Okay, if they deliberate and they're not sure, whatever, say that's okay, that's absolutely fine. One of the things that you have to learn about being a medium is you have to be tough to be able to accept your no's. You have to be able to accept your no's very healthily, otherwise it will destroy your mind. So I would say to you in that case, what you would want to do is to actually just say, that's okay, you can say no to me, but remember I've said that, and I'll just move on with the next piece of information. And I understand that sometimes it's hard to recall memory of things. I know there's a grieving period going on where our emotions can be involved. So I'd like to approach this in the most compassionate way I can for you to help you understand how we operate. As long as you come from a place of compassion, and you know, I'm a great believer, as long as you come from your heart, I'm a very blunt person, and so people tell me. Wendy will even tell you that. But really, when you know me, I'm just direct. People know where they stand with me, and I know where I stand with people, because I really disfavor dishonesty. I've had too much dishonesty in my life, and it is an aggravation to me. So I'd rather be direct and say it, but all the time with compassion. So it's about intention. So it's good to be direct, but in a compassionate, positive manner, where you can make them feel safe and comfortable to be vulnerable enough to say, look, what the hell are you talking about? I've no idea. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't understand it. But okay, let's carry on with the reading. And then you get to that level of being human with someone, right? Especially when someone's grieving. I'd give you an example. I've just been I work an awful lot with suicide, a hell of a lot. And over the last few weeks, I've done massive amounts of work with people who've lost kids to suicide, so much so that it's been quite taxing, but it's been important. And there is a feeling of, oh, sorry, just put this phone. There's a feeling that when we're working with the grieving side of things, especially with people that's gone to the spirit world, and especially like things like 3 weeks ago, or I'm dealing with suicide, you always have to remember they will only take in a perception of what you're actually saying. They will take in the perception of what they understand they think you're saying, and they will only take in a percentage of what you actually mean. So you just always got to come from a place of intention, compassion, but you have to be strong, Kylie. You have to be direct.
I did feel that she came with very specific expectations of what she exactly wanted to hear, like it was a instruction from him or something that she wanted, or confidence in going forward, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did feel like it was pulling my power around, like my energy was moving.
Right. So what you need to do is remain steadfast within your power to keep yourself contained, that nothing can affect you, because you're about the work of God. Remember, when you are working with the spirit world, you're in a state of sacred speech. So you are working with God at that moment, the spirit, whatever you want to call it. You're in a time of sacred speech. So nothing can disrupt that power within you unless you let it. So it's only lack of experience and a little bit of faltering where people can throw you. And I know, because I've dealt with some very difficult people, but there is a way that you can't fight fire with fire. Right? So what happens sometimes, people can get their back up, get defensive, and I know because I've been there, I've done that, I've had all those human experiences. But really, compassion and kindness is the golden key. And if you activate a listening skill where you listen to what your client is not saying, but feel where they're at, you most definitely then can actually get to the nitty-gritty of what they want to hear, what they want to talk about. And then it gives you a little bit of time to say, you know, I can't actually get that information at the moment, because really the registration number of a car, a phone number, an address, a surname, that's not really that much evidential. It's evidence of a memory of something of their life, but it doesn't take away the words I love you, or I'm with you, or I'm okay, does it? So a lot of people will come and test you because they want the hardcore.
That's what it was. It definitely felt like a test, because there was also the aspect that it's like, for the example of you would understand this man smoked. Well, she was taking information that, let's say he smoked when he was younger, but he didn't smoke when he died. She would say no.
Right. So then,
and then eventually I picked that up and I said, this could be the information right across his life until he gets to the point he's trying to make.
Yes. And he might not be necessarily trying to make a point. He might necessarily just letting her know he's there. See,
so what do we say to the client?
I would just say, well, would you understand at one time this man smoked in his life? I'm unaware, but I knew at some time he experienced smoking. Yes. If she says, oh, well, when he was young, but yes, but he still did it, didn't he?
Yeah.
So you come back with an affirmative, but in a kind, compassionate manner.
She was thinking about a lot of the pieces of information in that manner, though.
Yeah.
So what's something I can say at the beginning?
Okay, it also could be her inexperience of being with a medium. And unfortunately, a lot of people read books and rush out to a medium. And honestly, I say to people, I'm not a psychic vending machine. I'm not like a can of Coke, right? You don't put $5 in and get a message. Mm-hmm. You're not a psychic vending machine, guys. You're not like a can of Coke. You are in an act of sacred speech. You are in a conscious engagement with the spirit world. And it's a sacred thing, and it's a very sensitive thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people that come to us do not understand the fragility of the medium's mind. And so therefore, like yourself, you're revisiting this reading, you're wondering, you know, what I could have done better, how's this going to happen, how am I going to avoid this in the future? Instead, I would say, look at what you got correct. You made the link with the gentleman. He had success in the spirit world, and celebrate and engage in that, right? And then just go, okay, well, I learned the next time how I'm going to choose my words. Vocabulary, guys, is a very big part of mediumship. How you speak to people, how you say things, how you address things, how you talk to people. Vocabulary is vitally important, and the manner in how we say things. But I would just say, take what you got right. Don't beat yourself up. Put it down as experience. Put it on the shelf and go, okay, I had that experience. Next time I might handle that differently. And I say to people, I've just done the same. I have a client who's been coming to me for many, many years from Perth, and her family live in India, and they're always wanting readings once a year or something like that. Now they've got to the stage, because I've been doing a lot of things correctly for them with their business on a psychic level, where they're very demanding, very demanding. And now one of the gentlemen in the family wanted a session, and he had like about 5 or 6 questions. And I said, no, I shut it down. I know. This is not how I operate. I can work as an intuitive for you, and I can give you my perception, my feeling, but it's always potential possibility. But you can't come to me with a list of questions, because you can't feed me like a program or a computer and I spit the answers out. And I said, I don't operate that way. You've engaged with me for many years and you've been happy with the information. So you need to trust the process, or I need to stop the session, because I am not a 1 to 10 tick off question psychic or medium. And I stopped it. He'll rebook again. I know he will. But when the time's right, but I will give it 12 months before I'll take him back again. But I make a boundary, because if we don't, guys, we prostitute our ability. You're more or less saying, I can get anything, I can do anything, I can get any information, I can be this psychic, I can be a medium and a psychic for everybody and a healer for everybody, and you cannot. And that's one of the things we have to recognize. There is a medium for everybody, but not everybody or one person is everybody's medium. That's why different mediums pick up different aspects of information around different souls in the spirit, because it's got to do with the blending of the power and the vibration of the medium that's communicating. One person might pick up certain information, another medium might pick up something different. But I will tell you this, your client will remember you for the treatment of kindness, compassion, understanding. And one of the things that we're dealing with, especially in grief after 3 weeks, or the suicides that I've been dealing with, which I've done for many years, I'm just going through a really heavy stage of them, sadly for people, is that we hold space for people. We have to hold that space. And so if that means being honest enough to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that, I don't understand, you're better to be truthful to your own soul, because the spirit world's listening, than to make it up or pad it. Does that make sense? If you start extrapolating it and spreading it out into a lovely story and adding bits that you think might be right or blah, blah, it doesn't become a truth, it becomes an untruth, or it becomes just a fairy tale. So it's better to say, sorry, I don't have the answer for that now. I'm not aware of that from the spirit world, and my mind is not feeling that psychically. Perhaps someone else might be able to get that for you, or perhaps at another time your loved one in the spirit world will bring that information to me. But at the moment, they're wanting to identify themselves this way and to let you know they're there.
So that'd be also if they come to you and they get a reading they didn't expect. You can't, you just have to leave it at that. And what do you tell them if they're disappointed at the end? We're supposed to leave them in a better place, well, apparently. So
if they're disappointed, you certainly don't take funds. You just say, okay, I accept it, and be graceful. Be very graceful. Always have grace. Always act with grace. Be gracious, be graceful, and say, okay, I understand that you don't understand, or you're not happy with the reading. This is what I felt. Unfortunately, you were expecting something else, but this is the information that I have for you today. And I can only do my best for you in working with the spirit world and honoring my own truth. And
it was just a reading that it was correct, but it wasn't what she wanted to hear at that time. And that's what left her flat. So we just have to accept that. And
very, very common, Kylie. And so it's about, also in those situations, sometimes people need time to grieve. Sometimes they need to talk to other people in the same situation. Sometimes they just need to be alone with the knowledge that there is something else going on. There is an understanding of eternity, or the spirit world, or the psychic world as a reality. So sometimes we have to take a different line of thought when we talk to them. The thing is, in this day and age, everybody thinks we're psychic vending machines. It's true. But it's up to us to educate the public, is it not? It's up to us to do it. If you accept those standards, then you are creating that standard to live by. You don't. Make your mark. Make your mark and go, this is how I operate. I live and work in my truth with the spirit world. I live and work with my truth in my psychic ability. So I shall honor that in the best way I can. Because at the end of the day, you still get affected. Does that make sense?
So what do you say when they are flat at the end and you're trying to finish the appointment time off?
Well, if they're a bit flat, what do you mean? Have they said something to you, or are you just feeling it?
No, they're just, they wanted to hear what they wanted to hear, and a reading came through and it was perfectly fine. She could take it and understand it, but it wasn't what she wanted to hear.
Right,
so
okay.
How do I let that go without going way over time?
Okay, so you just say, okay, our session is concluding now. So you do understand that these points where she said yes, you do understand those points evidentially, and you are aware that your loved one is with you. Yes. And if she has said to you, well, they didn't tell me this, didn't tell me that, say, no, they didn't. And I'm not aware of that. And they're not on demand. They're not on call up. It's not dial your granny or dial your dad. You know, this is where things have to change. You have to say, no, this is the only information that was available to me at this point. So that is all I can share with you. My whole job as a role as a medium is to offer you evidence of the afterlife, that your loved one still lives. That is what I feel I have done. If you're unhappy, unfortunately, I can't change that, but I have done my best for you today.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Say, I have done my best for you in all honor and truth, but always go back and go, you know, you learn to get tough over the years, and you say, but do you understand? You understood about the smoking. You understand about the bad hip. You understand he collected cars. You understood that his name was John. So therefore, I've provided and offered evidence of his living in the spirit world. This is the role of the medium. So you're actually an educator at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You have to educate your public.
It's funny that you say John, because that was the name I gave and she could take it. But not for the father. But it was relevant to the whole
that was
thing.
just off the top of my head. Don't think it meant anything.
It's just
but
funny.
yeah, so just be tough, but have principles and boundaries.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Next question. Yes, Lisa.
Hi, Christine. How
Hello.
are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. I wanted to ask a question. So I was practicing for the last week and a half, and I would have someone sit in front of me, or the recipient, and they would be all smiles and everything like that, and they would practice on me, but their energy would kind of drain me. And then after, I would feel very sick, ill, sometimes nauseous and stomach aches. But from the outside, if someone was looking, they would be fine. But it's because with myself, like if I walk into a room, I can feel like the energy of the person, my body gets really affected. And then it's happened like 3 times now in a short space of time. So my body feels still sick. And so I don't know how to cope with that, because I know in the past, like Samantha Julie said, you know, put a shield on the stomach and on your solar plexus, but I don't feel like that has helped me, and I will still I would still feel it. So I feel really drained sometimes after.
Okay, how long have you been doing this, Lisa?
It's only been recently. So
But how long, so have you only just started development?
Yes.
Okay, right. It's nothing physical. All it is that you're just a little bit sensitive, and that you're probably part of the brain is also, again, like I was talking to Philip and earlier about the brain plays a video up, because people can't suck your energy completely all the time. I would say, yes, you can use the shield as a mental capacity, okay? But I would say to you, you're obviously just sensitive and becoming aware of your own sensitivity. So you're aware that you're sensing things. And so in that awareness, you can, when you go to sit with someone, because you know you can sense how they are, and you know that you sometimes feel drained, you can actually create the draining yourself from your brain without it actually happening physically. Does that make sense? So it can be more of a mental thing. So what I'd want to say to you is to mentally have a knowing and apply something within your mind where I'm not going to be drained with my work. But also have a look at the balance of your physical life. Are you in something that's demanding or draining that's physical? Are you doing something, are you doing too much psychic work and mediumship? Because it can be draining if you do too much. You know, it's just a thought world. Don't be reading books before you go to sleep at night about the spirit world. You can pull yourself so much. You can drain your energy. You have to have a balance of life. So I would say to you, mentally know that you cannot be drained.
Yes.
Say, okay. And so, yes, like Sam, I know Sam very well, and she said a make-believe shield over your tummy. You can do all those mental exercises, but it literally comes down to you containing your own energy. And the only way to do that is to say, I am still, I am contained, and nothing can drain me.
Yes. Okay.
But look at your lifestyle, what you're doing before you go and sit in a class. How many practice sessions are you doing? Because it should not be happening consistently. That's not normal.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So mentally in your mind, just imagine you've got like an what I'd call an auric hood, an auric sheath, just invisible line around you, and it just contains your own energy. And before you do the reading, be in that lovely feeling of strength and energy, and just say to yourself, my energy is strong, my energy is balanced, my energy is aligned, and I'm absolutely okay to go and do this work without feeling drained. So bring this mental repertoire of the mind into being with your mediumship. The mental repertoire of the brain and the cognitizing of our thoughts and how we operate is extremely important in our perception. So bring that into the brain to know it mentally, and then you won't even need the shield over the tummy.
Yes, I feel as though that I was practicing too much in a short amount of time. So what is too much? What would you suggest would be a nice...
Well, you can sit in meditation and sit in the power for 10 minutes every day or 15 minutes a day if you want to. You can go to circle or a group once a week. I know people who are doing 3 or 4, 5, 6 circles a week. It's crazy. It's mental. They actually will fry their brains. They think the more classes I do, the more workshops I do, the better I'll get, blah, blah, blah. It's about balance, because the energy, you become depleted mentally as well as physically. I think spirit work doesn't deplete you. Spirit work doesn't deplete you, but psychic work can.
Yes, I think that's what happened because I joined SNUI and I was doing a class nearly every week, and that's why I feel really fried, as you mentioned.
Well, that's okay to do it once a week, but every day.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Oh no, you have to have a break.
Yes. So do you suggest like a good balance is just once a week when you're just beginning, or what do you suggest?
Well, I have people who sit in my classes just once a week, and I give them little exercises to do through the week when they feel okay. But I certainly wouldn't recommend sitting in a circle every week, every day. Absolutely not. No way. You need to contain and build your power and build your energy. You can't live in the spirit world 24 hours. It's too depleting.
Yes, that's what I thought. Like I'm giving away my power or something because I felt like I haven't built it up enough, or...
Yeah, well, your energy is probably just not strong enough yet. And so every time you enter a class where you're doing meditation or working with the spirit world or psychic work, there can be an active depletion going on sometimes if you're not balanced with it. And in the beginning, it's quite normal to feel all that sensitivity, but you'll be okay, Lisa. I definitely think it's more of the mental application and bring balance into your life, because, if I remember when I first discovered spiritualism, I must have been spiritually drunk. Because I drank in everything about spiritualism I could. I used to write and write and write. I've got files and files and files packed away. I used to love to write. I could not get in enough knowledge. I absorbed everything. I literally must have been spiritually paralytic. I was spiritualist out. And in the end, I had to go, this is just too much. Like now, I have for example, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I have very intense days where I work every night. I work from 10 till 10, those 3 days. So I can wean my work Thursday and Friday, Saturday and Sunday and have that break. Because I need to restore Christine. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean I don't answer emails, or it doesn't mean that I might have the odd class or something now and again, but I've deliberately pushed my work into 3 days intense, and then Thursday's very gentle, so I can just prep myself to have a break on the weekend. And the last thing I want to do is talk to the spirit on the weekend.
Yes.
I want spirit in a glass, not spirit in the spirit world. I want to have fun, I want to be human, and I want to be real, and that is very, very important. You find balance.
Yes. Thank you so much, Christine. You answered exactly what I needed.
You're welcome. Okay, next question. Any other questions, please? Anybody got a question? Anybody got something they'd like me to talk about? Jackie, how's your work going? You're out there demonstrating. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Christine. I did, because we just moved house, so now I've got the space at home to do it because I've got a big space at the back, so
Oh,
utilize
good.
that, which I really feel was kind of instigated out there because we've been looking for a while, and then it all just fell into place. But yeah, it's good space for classes, good space for me. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's just, listening to you. I mean, I'm talking about a lot of what you were just talking about at the beginning, to do with our mind and our sensitivity and how we speak with people last night. So that was I was laughing to myself as I kept hearing you talk about things, because I just spoke about it all, in class. And it is just the experience, isn't it? It is, I explain to them all the time, I can't actually make you anything because it's got to come from within yourself. But a lot of, the confidence aspect and things like that, I know for me, because I was a painfully shy person for a long time within my own personality. But spirit, the spirit world made me very aware early on that, they can't change that. That's, the part of my personal journey that I've come in to grow and experience and grow through. So yeah, it is a journey, like you said, to get to a place where you not only live, but you work and you live from within your own power, and keep that lovely balance.
You have to, and you have to always remember the
You
mental
do.
side of your mind is so important, guys, okay?
Definitely. Yeah.
Because there's any fine line between madness and mediumship, they say.
I
And
do.
we can mentally destabilize. I can get very highly stressed at times if I'm emotional. When I'm very tired or when I'm overtired, I'm emotional and I become highly stressed when I'm really exhausted. And so I've learned to balance that over the years, but I've learned to say no and feel okay about saying no.
The
And
other
so
thing for me,
that's
Christine,
very
as well,
important.
is like people, a lot of people who come to me, clients who come to me will say, oh, we haven't seen you advertise, and be truthful, it's very, very rare I do, because from that principle of my balances, I really trust who sort of spirit bring to me. So I'm not, because that was one of the things I kind of didn't like about the early journey, is I didn't like that psychic thing where everybody just expected you to have, all the answers for them. So I kind of, I worked with it, but I kind of resisted it at the same time. Whereas now I know there's a purpose and there's a reason why the people come to sit with me that do. So, but that doesn't mean I don't get some of the experiences still, what you've all been talking about, because I do, and the perception of the person who sometimes sit there. And it's, just one experience I shared was a few weeks ago with a lovely guy, but I could tell he was quite a, I don't know, it was a typical guy, and he came and he was listening, but he was kind of saying no quite early on to, it was very specific. He acknowledged his mum, which I knew she had really extensive Alzheimer's, and I validated all that, which he acknowledged. But then it got to a point where I said, oh, she's talking about a gentleman in the spirit world that I know that would have gone after a heart attack, but she's also making reference to the gentleman here, that she's saying she's so glad that they listened to their own health issues regarding the same thing, the heart, and that's part of why she's here. And he's going, no, for the longest time. And like you said, I just got to a point where I'd sort of touched him a couple of times. He was still saying kind of no. So I said, okay, well, we'll just, I'm just going to leave that with you and we'll sort of move on. And as I was about to say the next thing, he kind of just went, oh, right. He said, so the heart thing, you were right. I said, what do you mean you were right? I said, well, that would be me.
Oh. Right.
Said,
yeah.
Sorry, what do you mean? He goes, oh, I said last year, about 12 months ago, I had to have a stent fitted in my heart. So we deal with that, because they're not always, like you just said, they're not always in the same places in that moment for whatever reason, what they're expecting. And then, validated that. He said, no, actually, it was her father. He had a massive heart attack and died.
Right. So you do get it. And I think you have to just be mindful, everybody, is that everybody's perception of what they want from a medium and an intuitive is very different. And so you have to always stick to your own truth and how you work and how you operate. And I mean, Mavis Patilla said this to me about 35 years ago, long time ago. And she just said to me, Christine, by your work, you will be known. And it's
exactly.
30 odd years down the track, it actually has happened. And I'm a great believer that by your work you will be known, and people will come to you, seek you out for whatever they need, whether they think they need it or not. That doesn't mean that we are infallible and we don't make mistakes, because we do.
We do.
Right?
Yeah,
We
definitely.
do. So it's about being honest with self, but also it's about, in this day of mediumship, and we're in the day of the modern medium, you know, we've got all the wonderful pioneers, we've got all the fantastic books, we've got it all, everybody knows it, it's the same repeat, it's the same old stuff over and over and over again, like a broken down record player. What about modern day mediums? We now know the psychology of mediumship is so important to the developing people today, more than what they were years ago. You know, we now look at things fundamentally different to what we did 50, 40, 30, 20, even 10 years ago. Things are different, right? So fundamentally, the spirit never changes, but the minds moving into the spirit world change as well. So we have to change as the medium, and we're living in a very modern world. We live in a very different place to mediums of the past. So the old history is all fantastic to read and be interesting, but does it stand up today? I think not.
No.
I don't think a lot of it does. I think it's for that time. So now we have to look at things in this time. People today are more needy, don't you think? If we look back years ago, people went to great mediums and sought great mediums out when there was a need to communicate with the dead. These days they seek a medium because they want to change their job.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the lines have become very, very blurred somewhere. And unfortunately, we have a lot of the same old prattle that comes out over and over again. And what we need to do is recognize we as a species are in a process of evolution. So we are involving ourselves with each other, like this community, which is support, sharing, encouraging for us on our journey. But also we have to evolve, and we are evolving at a different level and rate to what they did 30, 40 years ago, right? So that's why you can look at all the books, you can have a great time, and I love old history books and history, but remember, it's just history. How do you affect your mediumship for today?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you affect mediumship for today? If I worked with I work a lot with youth. And at the moment, I'm working with quite a few young boys. Now, if I start talking to these young boys of things that happened 50 years ago with old mediums, they would just think I was cuckoo. I need to be able to relate to how a young person's mind operates today, to how they think about death, how they deal with death. How am I going to explain that I can talk to their friend in the spirit world in a way that relates to the mind of today? Does that make sense? Because even, you know, I'm in my 50s. If I look back when I was a child, and I'm sure like some of you, to when you actually think of children today, it's very different what they're being taught, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you see kids at 3 and 4 playing with iPads these days. At 6, they want their own phone.
Yeah.
So, of course, things are evolving and growing and moving in the spirit world as well as the minds are. So you have to think about the mental perception and capacity of people to understand and how your approach is. So your vocabulary, the manner in how you speak, the words that you use are very, very vital in today's society with mediumship. You want to be a steadfast, strong medium that does link with eternity, but who has a modern approach, because we are evolving all the time. All the time. I'm sure, I hope that I just still work until I drop dead, and I hope I live forever. So if I live to say my 90s, I'll be grateful. And I hope that my readings I do in my 90s are a little bit different to the ones I do in my 50s. Otherwise, I won't have progressed, will I? We have to look at progression, which is a very overused word, and we have to think about it as ourselves as people. So understanding the mental capacity, the mental aspects of mind, how you operate, how you function, how you respond and relate to different situations and things around your life now will all affect your mediumship ultimately. You know, the personality, the structure of the ego creates the ring of personality, and the ring of personality is constructed in the ego in the auric field, and it's contained and built up by all the experiences we have in our life, socially, environmentally, educationally. We're all conditioned in these areas. So the structure of the ego is just a formation of layers of personality, of experiences that we've accomplished through our life. But is it the real you? Is it the real soul? Or is it just a trademark of your experience? Are you operating at a soul level? Or is it just a trademark of experience? So the structure of the ego is absolutely experiences, which give us building blocks for the future. But if those building blocks don't change, we stay on the same road all the time. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So talking to people is very different. Different cultures, different age groups, vocabulary is very important. How you present yourself in a reading, how you say things, how you explain things. Explanations of our work is very vital as well. Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask? Anything? Or Wendy or anybody got anything to ask? Any sharing? No? Okay, anything you'd like me to?
I've got another one.
Yes, Sherry.
Okay, so with the mediumship, you can do that for around 8 to 10 minutes, and you mentioned the rest is psychically. So how does that emerge? The sitter came for a mediumship reading. Maybe they think you can sit there and give them mediumship for 45 minutes. How does this other process of connecting psychically evolve and to help them, and how is that stage set?
Okay, no, Sherry, I think you misunderstood me. I didn't say the rest was all psychic. What I said was that an actual contact, we train people to do 7 to 10 minute contacts.
Okay.
And when you're working in a 45-minute capacity, it will be peppered with different aspects of the psychic. So the mind might start off psychically, reading about the psychic life. The vibration might build and we might move to touch the spirit world, and then we might drop back down to the psychic. And then you might have another contact from the spirit world. So you have an ebb and flow.
Okay.
To actually hold the spirit world a little bit longer, you certainly can. I'm talking about in public forums, and we do a demonstration, we say a 10-minute contact. Okay? When you're doing a private sitting, you certainly can talk to someone for 20, 30 minutes. But 45 minutes is a bit long. It will build up to that over a period of years of development and experience, hopefully. But normally, when you're holding a contact for that long, they often will bring in someone else as well.
And what happens with the space, though? Let's say you've shared something, and then there's a moment of space. What do you do with that space?
Well, normally, if you have someone from the spirit world and say they come and give a contact and they give information, and then it stops and you get nothing else, normally that's when the mind starts to feel the energy of the person in front of you and works psychically.
Okay.
And if nothing happens then, you then have to look at, are you trying to fulfill a time that you're not accomplished or developed enough to do yet? I say to people, you should always practice with 15-minute readings only to start.
Okay.
And we're in my school of training, you never do a reading for longer than 30, 35 minutes. I never do a reading longer than 35 minutes. People say, oh, I want to book you for an hour. And I say, I don't operate that way. I never take booking. I don't do it that way because I'd rather be short, succinct, straight to the point, direct with the spirit world, a little bit of psychic information if it's needed, and it's done. And you contain your power and you work in the power in that moment instead of being all over the shop. If you're working and you're doing readings at home, you shouldn't be doing like 1 in the morning, 1 at lunchtime, 1 in the afternoon. You can, but you're better to do a short, succinct, strong element of powered work and then wean off. Mm-hmm. So dedicate 3 or 4 hours one morning to doing your readings where you're in the zone. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then have the afternoon break. Then go hit and miss all the time.
Okay,
it's just about, as you develop, Sherry, you'll understand that the levels of your own power, the levels of your own ability, and your own time awareness.
Thank you.
Okay.
Christine, we're coming to the end of our time.
Yeah.
You're on fire today. What you gave us today was extraordinarily valuable.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. Just being in the moment.
Being in the moment, you're very much in the moment, and it's always a joy to have you. And I just love your insights. And I think the thing that comes across from you is just years of experience. and just that accrued wisdom, I would call it.
You're very
And,
kind.
I think it's something that you bring across with such grace and such humor. And it's just so absolutely wonderful of you to give this time to our young mediums. And would anybody else like to say something to Christine about today's session?
You have this joy. There's so many mediums that do classes that don't have this joy that you exude as you're speaking. And that's a special gift, I think, that shows how much you love what you do as well as being good at it. But there's this joy that just comes through when you speak, which I just love. It's invigorating.
Do you know, Philip, thank you so much. But let me tell you this, guys. You know, we can all speak to the dead. We can all heal. We can all learn to be a psychic. We can all do all those things. But I'm a great believer in people. I just think humanity is such a great gift. And I just think sometimes we get so caught up with looking at what's outside of ourselves to get the right link, the right evidence, the right piece of information, that we forget about me and you and community and support and nurturing and laughter and encouragement, because they're all great virtues of the spirit. So I think that when we learn about the perception of the mental aspects of a human being and how we operate and how we function, I believe that can only be complementary to the mediumship development. And so, you know, if you're not about people, then you're in the wrong business. And, you know, you get I get moments where I'm tired. If you had seen me at 9 p.m. last night, finishing my last class, you would have seen Christine was tired. And you do get it. And you're honest with it. And I go, oh, I'm exhausted. I've just had enough now. Shut down the laptop. I need a shower in my bed. And so that's it. But then you get moments where you have little specks of realization or remembrance where, oh my God, you know, I really am talking to someone who's passed. Or you've just done this, or someone like yourselves who just paid me a lovely compliment. And that's also very spiritual. It's very lovingly embraced from myself, and it's nurturing for Christine. So it gives you an impetus to go forward. And like I was saying to Kylie, when you get something that knocks you back, you just remember the emotion where you did it, with you knew without conviction that you could go forward. Because all of us in the ballroom of life, we just dance at different steps. And all of you can work for the spirit world in different ways. It may not be the way you think, it may not be the way someone teaches, but it doesn't mean you can't offer something of your spirit to somebody here. And that is so important in today's life, in the way our world is today. People need people.
Well, I think everybody can understand why your students stay with you for years.
I know, 11 years my home circle
11
now.
years your home circle. You have people turning up every week for 11 years, which is, I think it's because you, and of course over in Perth, you built a community centre that went for years and years and years. And
yeah, Jackie would remember that. Yeah.
I think you have the ability to create community, which is just wonderful. So if anybody is interested in any of your classes, how do they go about contacting you? And
well, they're probably best to
offer?
I don't put my class, I mean, I've got all the college, when I'm teaching for the college and the Journey Within, etc. on the website. But if you're interested in weekly circles, I run weekly classes online. And so you would just email me. And just to add to that, there's several different classes, but also what I do, because I have a community and I'm about unity and community, I bring in different things. So for example, at the moment, alongside my own teachings, I have a dream course with Janet Piedoletta running for my students. I have an art class where once a month we have a medium coming in to work with art in any forum for our mediums. And you don't have to be an artist or even able to draw to do it. We've had some fantastic breakthroughs. I have once a month, I have a global evening where I unite all my colleagues where I can around Europe, and we get together with cultures and different religions, different backgrounds, different countries, where you get the practice with someone from a different lifestyle to you, different language, different culture, different understanding. So we have global evenings, we have the dream evenings, I have a trance class, and I have the art class, and I have just general development. So you can always email me. Wendy can put my email up and she'll let you know where it is.
Okay, so that's I'm just trying to remember what your current.
Right, my email is INDIKI, Indiki, 1962 @gmail.com. Indiki1962 @gmail.com. It's on my website anyway. But we did try to put a group together for some people in this forum, but the times were difficult. But there is other classes going you can pop into if you want to and have a look at.